Dopodiché sul premio Nobel per la pace spero che un giorno potremo dare un premio Nobel per la pace a Donald Trump e confido che se farà la differenza che possa da questo punto di vista fare la differenza sulla pace giusta e duratura per l'Ucraina, anche per l'Ucraina, e quindi finalmente anche noi potremmo candidare Donald Trump al Nobel per la pace.
This is my video update on this Saturday afternoon, January the 24th, coming to you from Larnaca, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with the energy situation in Ukraine. We had another big Russian strike into Ukraine, knocking out the power in Kharkov and in Kiev. So you had blackouts, major blackouts in those two big cities. And you now have Reuters reporting about the catastrophic situation in Ukraine and saying that what's needed right now, what's needed urgently, is an energy truce. If Ukraine is unable to get an energy truce, according to the top level official in DTEC, which is the Ukraine energy company, if they cannot secure some sort of an energy truce to fix things, then you're looking at a major catastrophe in Ukraine. And this is being reported on by Reuters. They put out an article with the title, Ukraine needs energy ceasefire as catastrophe is looming, top power executive says. Maxim Timchenko is calling for an energy truce. That's a direct quote. We need a ceasefire in the energy sector, a ceasefire regarding energy assets. We are close to a humanitarian catastrophe. People get electricity for 3 to 4 hours, then a break for 10 to 15 hours for several weeks now. Apartment buildings have been without heating, said Timchenko. It's a very bad situation for Ukraine, for the people of Ukraine. A cold winter without heating, without electricity, without water. And you had Zelensky just yesterday in Davos talking about how Russia is tired, how Russia is suffering huge losses, and angry with Europe and the United States for not giving more money and more weapons to Ukraine so that Ukraine can finally defeat Russia. Zelensky in Davos talking about how Ukraine can still win this war. The famous Cactus Hotel in Larnaca, the Cactus Hotel. So yeah, that was Zelensky in Davos just yesterday, talking about how things are catastrophic for Russia. You have Keith Kellogg, also in Davos, talking about how in 2 months, if Ukraine can make it through these next 2 months, then the advantage is Ukraine's, and Russia's going to lose. Just 2 months, according to Kellogg. That was also in Davos just the other day. And of course, you had Alexander Stubb, the leader of Finland, telling the Davos audience to be patient, give it time. Ukraine's going to win this thing. That is what Stubb said. Be patient, according to Alexander Stubb. Alexander Stubb has electricity, he has heat, he has water. Be patient, according to Stubb. Give it time. Ukraine's going to win this thing. Klitschko, to his credit, and to the anger of Zelensky, because Zelensky does not like this stuff being out there. I'm sure he's not happy with what the DTEC official has told Reuters, and Reuters publishing this story. I imagine that the Green Goblin is furious with this story published by Reuters. But to Klitschko's credit, he has been saying for the past couple of weeks that the situation in Kiev is catastrophic with regards to to the energy situation and the Russian attacks and the blackouts, where you have no air defense capable of stopping the Russian strikes. But Klitschko has told people in Kiev, if you can get out of the city, get out of the city. And Zelensky's very upset with Klitschko. How dare you say this publicly? How dare you tell the people of Kiev, and then the media picks this up, that we have an energy crisis and that you're telling people to leave the city. It's bad optics for the Green Goblin. But anyway, that is the situation in Ukraine, and Witkoff, Kushner, and Josh, Cushman. Josh Kushner, Witkoff, they were in Moscow, and they pitched an energy truce. They did travel to Russia, and they did pitch an energy ceasefire to Russia, to Putin, and Putin said no, there's going to be no ceasefires. So they did try that. And now we have the talks in the UAE, in Abu Dhabi. And the first day of talks wrapped up yesterday. The second day of talks are now starting. The famous San Remo Hotel in Larnaca, Cyprus. So you have the famous Cactus Hotel back there, and over here you have the famous San Remo Hotel. But you have the second day of talks starting up in Abu Dhabi today. The first day of talks, according to media reports, Reuters once again, they claim that there was no progress made in the talks, or little progress made in the talks, though Reuters is saying that the United States is putting a lot of pressure on Ukraine to make a deal. Because I'm certain that there are parts of the Trump administration and of the U.S. military that understand the situation with regards to energy and electricity is catastrophic, and they're probably putting pressure on Zelensky to just make a deal, because you're not going to be able to make it with the way things are. Russia can turn the lights out at any moment. That's the way it seems. But we'll see what happens on day 2 of the talks in Abu Dhabi. According to Peskov, the talks are very focused on security issues, and Peskov also said that if Ukraine and the United States are serious about progress, then they need to return to Anchorage. Actually, Peskov saying that it's important to implement the Anchorage formula. That's what he said. It's important to implement the Anchorage formula. Is actually Peskov saying that what needs to happen is that the United States needs to engage with the Russians and get back to Anchorage. It's not so much about Ukraine. It's more about the United States getting back to the agreements that they apparently were on board with in Alaska, and then Trump decided to ditch Alaska, the Alaska formula, and he took the advice of Bessent and of Kellogg and the other neocons. Keep escalating, keep the sanctions going, and eventually the Russian military is going to collapse, and eventually the Russian economy is going to collapse. That's the route that Trump decided to take, ditching Alaska. And Peskov is saying, look, if we want progress to be made, we got to get back to what was agreed on and discussed in Alaska. We don't know much about what was agreed on or discussed in Alaska. We don't know the details of it, but we have a general understanding as to what Putin and Trump agreed on, which was June 2024 root causes, with Russia perhaps, if you believe some media reports, perhaps being a little more flexible with regards to Zaporozhye and Kherson, at least not an immediate demand for Ukraine to leave those two oblasts. They would eventually have to leave, but according to the reports, The concession that Russia was willing to make was that in Kherson and Zaporozhye, the Ukraine military would not be told to leave right away. That's if you believe some of the reports as far as what the concessions were from Putin. But the rest of what was agreed on in Anchorage appears to have been June 2024. Anyway, Peskov is saying, let's get back to Anchorage if we want to get back on track with resolving the Ukrainian crisis. There are also some sources which claim that the two sides not only discussed security issues, but they also started to talk about buffer zones, which is a security issue, I guess. But the buffer zone is the buffer zone situation, the territory of what would be a buffer zone, designated a buffer zone, was discussed. Anyway, all right. So that's the situation with the talks. At the UAE, we'll see what happens on day 2. Maybe there's a deal. Maybe they will come out of the talks in Abu Dhabi and they will say we have big time progress. Can't have a deal because you don't really have the top level officials at least from the Russian side to make such an announcement. But who knows? Maybe they'll say, you know what, we've made significant progress and we're very, very close to a deal. Or maybe we will just get an announcement saying that the two sides will continue to talk. Some progress was made, but the goals of the special military operation will continue, which would basically mean that the talks led nowhere. Bottom line, according to U.S. media, the Trump administration is trying to put pressure on Ukraine to make more concessions. So, Hungary and Ukraine, they are in a big time fight. Hungary and Ukraine, they're just not getting along. How could you not get along with the Green Goblin? I don't understand it. How can you not get along with Podolyak? Everyone gets along with Podolyak. Everyone gets along with Podolyak. Not Siarto and not Orban, right? The cat gets along with Podolyak. The cats get along with Podolyak. Cats love Podolyak. Anyway, Podolyak, the cats love you. So you have Orban giving a speech, and this was posted on X, and saying that Ukraine is, if Hungary has anything to say about it over the next 100 years, Ukraine will never get into the European Union. Orban said, I think that the next 100 years, there will not be a parliament in Hungary that will vote in favor of Ukraine joining the European Union. So that's what Orban said in a speech. And of course, getting into the European Union has become a religion. It's a globalist religion. The European Union is a key pillar of the globalist religion and the globalist ideology. The EU, and this angered officials in Ukraine. And so you had the foreign minister of Ukraine, Mr. Shiba Inu. He fired back at Orban, saying that this plan is doomed to fail. Mr. Prime Minister, your master in Moscow won't last 100 years, even if you are ready to donate him all organs. And on the day Ukraine joins the EU, we will frame the headline in UA Parliament to remember your lies for the next 100 years. So that was how Shiba Inu replied to Orban, your master in Moscow, Mr. Orban. Even if you donate all your organs, it's not going to make a difference, according to the foreign minister of Ukraine. And Peter Siarto fired back at the foreign minister of Ukraine, saying, well, I see you started to interfere into our elections. We know you want a government which would say yes to Brussels and would be ready to drag Hungary into your war. But we will not let it happen. The sovereign Hungarian government will continue to protect the country and its people from your war. Hungary first. So that's the row that is unfolding between Hungary and Ukraine. Orban saying, no EU for you. Hungary saying we'll remember this post on X Putin can't help you, Orban. We will get into the European Union. We must get into the European Union. And then Siarto firing back at Ukraine, saying you're meddling in our elections and we know it. We will not be defeated. We will win, and we will stop you from entering the EU and wrecking Hungary and wrecking Europe. That's pretty much the fight that is unfolding. And we do have elections in Hungary coming up, and things are close. Things are close. The Europeans, they're putting everything they have into successfully defeating Orban. They are doing everything in their power to defeat Orban and to get their globalist guy in as prime minister and as the government. And things are very, very close. And if Orban is defeated, then it is going to be a big win for the globalists. So that's the situation between Hungary and Ukraine. And we'll stick with the EU. And Politico has an article which they claim they saw a document, an 18-page document, which talks about the 800 billion investment into Ukraine, known as the Ukraine Prosperity Plan. And according to Politico, the 800 billion investment into Project Ukraine hinges on a ceasefire. Have to get a ceasefire in Ukraine, and then you have to fast track Ukraine into the European Union. If these two things can be accomplished, then, according to Politico, with the investment advice of BlackRock is playing an advisory role, according to Politico, from the document that they have seen. Then with BlackRock's investment advice, the World Bank, the IMF, the EU, and the United States, they are going to get $800 billion invested into Ukraine over 10 years. And so what needs to be done is there needs to be a ceasefire. And this is according to various statements from a BlackRock official. You have to get a ceasefire. Then you have to get Ukraine into the European Union, fast track them into the EU. Once Ukraine is in the EU, then this eases investor fears about Ukraine, because the BlackRock official said that no one wants to put money into Ukraine as it has this war going on, and it has all of this instability. So you have to get the ceasefire, have to get them into the EU, and then you get the 800 billion pouring into the country. That is the plan. Now you see why it is so important for the Trump administration to try and get Russia to agree to a ceasefire, to some sort of a resolution to the conflict in Ukraine. It's all about the money. It's all about the money, money, money. That's right, all about the money. So, and that's why it's important to fast track Ukraine into the European Union. You fast track them into the European Union, and investors are not so afraid anymore to start putting money into Project Ukraine. Of course, the European globalists and the European elite, well, they'll be very happy, because 800 billion, that's a lot of spinning, 800 billion. 10 years, that gives them 10 years of spinning. So Merz was meeting with Maloney, Merz and Maloney, MMM, MNM, Maloney and Merz and Maloney, and Goose from Top Gun, and they turned down, Germany turned down, I think Italy did as well, they turned down the invitation to the peace board. Merz said, we would like to join the peace board. President Trump, this is what they said in a statement, we would like to join the peace board, but just can't. Can't do it. Can't join the board of peace. I call it the peace board, the board of peace. Mertz said, I told Trump a few weeks ago that I would personally be ready to join a board of peace if it were a body that, as originally planned, accompanies the peace process in Gaza, including now in the second phase, which unfortunately has not yet begun, with the disarmament of Hamas. In its current form, however, we cannot accept the governance structures for constitutional reasons in Germany. Yeah, Germany is not, at least for now, Germany and Mertz are saying that we're not going to join a board of peace with the aim of replacing the United Nations. What would Annalena Baerbock do if the board of peace replaces the United Nations? What would Annalena Baerbock do? Would she be appointed by Trump as president of the General Assembly of the Board of Peace? Annalena Baerbock? I don't know. But anyway, that was Mertz and Meloni. Meloni at this press conference, she said that Europe must decide whether it wants to take its destiny into its own hands or simply endure it. That is why we need clarity, courage, and responsibility, and above all, the intelligence to turn crisis into opportunities. So Meloni is talking up the EU, European nations, and the European Union. They need to get clarity, courage, and responsibility to take destiny into their own hands. Well, that's why they have leaders like Ursula and Stunning and Brave. You want clarity and courage? Stunning and Brave. There you have it. And responsibility, clarity, courage, and responsibility. You're describing Ursula and Callus, Meloni, so you're in good hands. Europe, the European Union, is in good hands. Giorgia Meloni, according to Politico, Giorgia Meloni told European leaders that it's not a good idea to fight Trump. This is what she told EU leaders in a private meeting. A very private meeting. Giorgia Meloni told all of the leaders in Europe, look, let's not go too hard against Trump in the United States. It's a bad idea. We need the U.S. to be on our side, not to be against us. But as Europe, we also need to find courage, to find clarity, to find responsibility, and to break free from the vassalage that we now have with the United States. Meloni wants to break free. She wants to break free. All right. Lagarde, Christine Lagarde at Davos. She is thanking the Americans and the EU bashers. The Americans, the American EU bashers, the European EU bashers, the haters. She's thanking them. She's saying, all you guys are doing us a favor, because the more you bash us, the more it motivates us. It's telling us to wake up and get our act together. This is according to Christine Lagarde. Thank you to the haters for spurring Europe forward, EU's top banker says. America's insults and taunts have been a wake-up call for the continent, Christine Lagarde tells Davos. The theatrics of the fighting between the United States and Europe. The theatrics of it all. They're all upset at each other. They're all going at each other. So what does Europe need to do? Europe needs to centralize even more. More centralization, more digital currency, more control. That's right. That's what Europe needs to do. To prove the United States wrong. You're bashing us. You're hating on us. Well, we'll prove you wrong. Let's roll out those digital currencies. Let's roll out that digital wallet. Let's roll out that EU centralization and more regulations and more control. So we can prove to you, America, that we're not a bunch of losers. Who's the loser? We're not losers. We're authoritarians. Lagarde said, but if anything, it has been good, and we should say thank you to the bashers because I think it has given us a complete realization of the fact that we have to be more focused. She added, especially on innovation and productivity. Lagarde also said, I personally, and this might be my emotional side. Sorry about that. We women tend to be emotional. I think we have to think of the people, she said. And I have a huge trust and affection for the American people. And I know that at the end of the day, the deeply rooted values will prevail. So an olive branch to the people of America from Christine Lagarde. You may be bashing us. You may be calling us losers, but we have shared values. And when all is said and done, we'll come together again, Europe and America. It's Christine Lagarde's feminine side. That's what she said. As a woman, we have this emotional side, Christine Lagarde said, and she's confident that Europe and America will be one again. Okay, the theater of the row between the U.S. and Europe. It's just going to force the Europeans to crack down more on European citizens. Yeah, that's what it's going to do. Right? Okay. Trump's foreign policy, and we'll wrap up the video. Trump's foreign policy. Three things that the Trump administration announced yesterday. First, you have Trump on Air Force One, talking about conflict with Iran, saying that a massive fleet is heading towards Iran. That is what Trump told reporters on Air Force One. Of course, Trump says that there's a massive fleet heading in the direction of Iran. Maybe we'll use it, but maybe we will not use it. Hopefully we do not use it, but it's a massive fleet heading towards Iran just in case. There are analysts who believe that a strike is going to come. Some analysts even believe it could be starting today or tomorrow. We'll see. We will see. That is what Trump said on Air Force One. We are getting reports from the Wall Street Journal, which claim that the Trump White House is considering, from Politico, sorry, not Wall Street Journal, from Politico. They are saying that the Trump White House is looking at an oil blockade of Cuba. They're looking to get regime change in Cuba, and one of the ways that they're going to do it, the main way that they'll start to get regime change in Cuba, is to starve Cuba of oil and to put we're talking about a complete oil blockade on Cuba. And I've read reports which claim that now Mexico is starting to get worried about providing energy to Cuba. They may actually stop out of fears of what the Trump administration might do. So that's a bad sign for Cuba. And you have the United States allegedly pulling out of Syria. The Pentagon is discussing a full U.S. military pullout out of Syria. You have about 1,000 plus troops in Syria, and this is from the Wall Street Journal. According to the Wall Street Journal, because the Kurds have been pretty much wiped out by Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, al-Jalani, there is no reason for the United States to be there anymore, because the United States the military was allegedly there to not only take the oil, but to also support the Kurds. But now you have al-Jalani in place, you have al-Shura al-Jalani, HTS al-Qaeda in place in Damascus, and they've just gone ahead and wiped out the Kurds, or they're in the process of wiping out the Kurds, so you don't really need the U.S. military there anymore. So we got that report as well. And finally, before we get to a clown world, we have to talk about Canada and Scott Bessent's statements to Jack Posobiec in an interview where Bessent was talking up the breakup of Canada, the balkanization of Canada. Bessent pans Carney, cheers on Albertan separatism amid growing U.S.-Canada rift. Yeah, so Scott Bessent, in this interview, is actually talking about breaking apart Canada. The U.S.'s number one ally, number one friend, most trusted partner, neighbor to the north, And here you have Bessent encouraging the balkanization, the breakup of the country. Bessent said Alberta is a natural partner for the U.S. He told conservative podcaster Jack Posobiec in an interview Thursday. They have great resources. The Albertans are very independent people. Rumor that they may have a referendum on whether they want to stay in Canada or not. And Bessent, of course, is floating out the possibility of Alberta breaking off and joining the United States. This is what Bessent is basically getting at. Trump posted on X, Canada is against the Golden Dome being built over Greenland, even though the Golden Dome would protect Canada. Instead, they voted in favor of doing business with China, who will eat them up within the first year. China's going to eat them up. Not the United States, China. So that's Bessent. Trump is very upset with Canada, very upset with Carney and his speech at the WEF, very upset with Carney going to China and possibly striking some deals with China. This has upset Trump very much. And here you have Bessent talking about breaking the country apart, and Trump talking about China eating up Canada within a year. How about some clown world, or some clown worlds? The tourists are taking photos of the lemons, or the limes, the lemons, lemon trees. Very popular tourist attraction in Larnaca, the lemon trees. Clown world. Clown world, we have some AI slop from the Trump White House. They love their AI slop. The White House posted an AI image, embraced the penguin with Trump and the penguin's holding an American flag, because that's a real thing. And you can see the flag of Greenland in the distance. Embrace the penguin. There are no penguins in Greenland. That's the wrong hemisphere. There's no penguins in Greenland. So there's a lot of funny memes that are now on social media mocking this AI meme from the White House. So that's Clown World number one. I almost slipped and fell. That would have been embarrassing. Clown World number two is that the EU is going to be putting out, well, Europe, not the EU. It has the EU's backing, from my understanding of it. But Europe, or Germany, is putting out an ex-competitor. An ex-competitor. And they figured out a very creative name for the ex-competitor. They're going to call it W. W. It's going to be the ex-competitor is going to be called W. W Social. And it's going to adhere to all of the EU digital information regulations, ID verification, monitoring, all of those things. And this is going to be Europe's big response to US social media dominance. The platform W. I don't think it has been released yet, or maybe it's in alpha or beta, but I did find some people talking about the W social platform on Reddit. The new platform W will require identification and photo validation to ensure that its users are both human and who they claim to be. Danish news media outlet Politiken.dk reports the initiative to create the social media platform W is supported by an advisory board and former ministers and business representatives, primarily from Sweden. Okay, Anna Zeiter, CEO of W, has told Bilance.ch that W stands for we. Meanwhile, the first of the V's that make up W stand for values, and the second for verified. You get it? So the full W stands for we, But when you look at the one V of the W, it stands for value, and the other V of the W stands for verified. Very creative, very smart, very European. Values verified. We values verified. W social network. Yeah, Elon Musk is screwed, man. W's gonna crush X. Musk is screwed. Game over for Musk, game over for X. Anyway, that's the end of the video. I forgot to say like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe, everybody. I forgot. Whenever I don't do the Trump voice, I like it, I forget. I need to incorporate the Trump voice in the beginning of my videos. I like it. So yeah, you could find me on W. That's where you could find me. I've been verified. My passport, my documentation, it's all been checked and verified. So you can find me on W. You can find the Duran on W. Join us on W Social, and go to the Duran shop. 26% off all merch. I will see everyone tomorrow. Take care.